Everything starts with something you do without noticing you're doing it. You meet a stranger, and in less than a second, before a single word is exchanged, some part of you has already decided how much to trust them.
Most people assume trust is earned slowly, built through conversation, shared experience, time. But research on first impressions tells a different story.
Me too.
Judgments about trustworthiness form almost instantly, often within a fraction of a second of seeing someone's face. And one of the strongest predictors of that instant judgment isn't kindness or intelligence or even body language. It's similarity. Do they look like they could belong to your
I've got
group?
a brilliant idea.
This raises an uncomfortable question. Why would something as important as trust be decided so quickly and so superficially before any real evidence exists?
To understand this, you have to go back further than modern society, further than cities, further than agriculture. You have to go back to a time when the biggest danger a person could face wasn't a predator in the grass. It was another human being they had never met before.
For most of human history, small bands of early humans lived in tight, isolated groups. Survival depended almost entirely on cooperation within that group, sharing food, defending territory, raising children together. But contact with outsiders was rare, and when it happened, it was unpredictable. An unfamiliar group might be peaceful, or it might be a direct threat to your food, your land, your life.
In that environment, a snap judgment wasn't a flaw.
It was a survival tool. If you waited to gather enough evidence before deciding whether a stranger was safe, you might not survive long enough to finish deciding. So evolution appears to have favored something faster, a mental shortcut built to make an instant call using the only information available at a glance.
And the simplest piece of information available at a glance was resemblance. If someone looked like the people in your group, sounded like them, moved like them, dressed like them, there was a reasonable chance they were connected to your group, or a group similar enough not to pose an immediate threat. It wasn't a perfect signal, but across many, many encounters, this is where a strange psychological phenomenon called the in-group bias comes from. Numerous studies have shown that people consistently rate faces similar to their own ethnicity, or even faces that simply resemble their own facial features, as more trustworthy, more honest, and more likable, often without any awareness that they're doing it.
In one striking series of experiments, researchers digitally morphed photographs of strangers to subtly resemble the participants looking at them, blending in barely noticeable facial features. The participants had no idea the images had been altered, and yet, again and again, they rated these subtly self-resembling strangers as more trustworthy than nearly identical faces without the resemblance. Something in the brain was recognizing familiarity, even when the conscious mind couldn't detect it at all.
This bias doesn't just apply to faces. It extends to accents, to clothing, to mannerisms, even to something as small as sharing the same first name. Studies on cooperation have found that people are more willing to help, lend money, or complete tasks generously for someone who shares surface-level similarities with them, even when those similarities are completely irrelevant to the task at hand.
I am ready
Which
for a
leads
great
to
day
another
today.
layer of the mystery.
I believe in myself.
Why does something so shallow, something with no real bearing on someone's actual character, still carry so much psychological weight today?
The answer lies in how the brain processes safety. Deep inside the brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, closely tied to fear and threat detection. When we encounter something unfamiliar, the amygdala tends to respond with heightened alertness, a subtle readiness for danger. But when we encounter something familiar, that alarm system quiets down. Similarity, in other words, doesn't just suggest social closeness. It biologically signals safety. This means that when you meet someone who looks, sounds, or acts like people you already trust, your brain isn't making a careful character assessment. It's pattern matching against a lifetime of prior safe encounters and quietly lowering its guard. The trouble is, this ancient shortcut was built for a very different world. A world of small, isolated groups where resemblance and group membership were tightly, reliably linked. In that world, the shortcut worked reasonably well. But we no longer live in that world. Modern societies are enormous, diverse, and interconnected in ways early human brains never evolved to navigate. Resemblance no longer reliably predicts group loyalty, shared values, or trustworthiness. And yet, the shortcut remains, quietly running in the background of nearly every human interaction.
This is part of why unconscious bias is so difficult to eliminate through willpower alone. It isn't rooted in deliberate reasoning that can simply be argued away. It's rooted in a fast, automatic system that evolved long before conscious reasoning existed. One designed to answer a single question in under a second. Is this person part of my group or not? Understanding this doesn't excuse the bias, but it does explain why it appears so early, so consistently, across cultures, ages, and even in young children who haven't yet been taught explicit ideas about group identity. Studies with infants as young as a few months old have shown a preference for faces that share visual similarities with their primary caregivers, suggesting the roots of this mechanism begin forming astonishingly early in life.
There is, however, a more hopeful piece to this story. While the in-group bias is fast and automatic, it isn't fixed. Researchers have found that repeated positive contact with people outside one's usual group can gradually recalibrate the brain's definition of familiar. Over time, and enough shared positive experience, unfamiliar faces can become associated with safety too. And the same ancient trust mechanism that once divided strangers into safe and unsafe can
Which brings the story back to where it started. That instant, almost invisible judgment you make about a stranger's face isn't proof of who they are. It's an echo, an ancient survival instinct running quietly beneath the surface of a mind built for small tribes, now navigating a world of nearly 8 billion strangers. Maybe that's the real hidden truth. The person you decide to trust in the first half second of meeting them was never really a judgment about them at all. It was a signal from deep inside your own evolutionary past, still trying, quietly and imperfectly, to keep you safe.